The Motown sound is one of the cornerstones of modern music. On this very special spectacle, Elvis Costello with Motown pioneer and legend, Smokey Robinson.
Singer, songwriter, and record producer. In 1965, no less a lyricist than Bob Dylan called him America's greatest living poet. And I'm not going to disagree. During the glory years of the Motown label, he not only recorded his own smash hits with the Miracles, but he provided songs for Mary Wells, the Marvelettes, Marvin Gaye, and the Vandellas, the Supremes, the Temptations, and the Jackson 5. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready for the man who brought you Shop Around? You really got a hold on me. Mickey's Monkey, ooh, baby, baby. The tracks of my tears and I second that emotion. Get ready! Get ready! I said, get ready! Welcome to the stage, Mr. Smokey Robinson!
Oh, that was fun. Before we start the conversation, I got to say, if Frank Sinatra, Marilyn Monroe, and Groucho Marx had walked out together in this moment, I couldn't be more thrilled than if you come out in this. It's funny, it starts the conversation. In 1964, you wrote a song called My Smile Is Just a Frown Turned Upside Down for Carolyn Crawford. And in it had the lines that everybody knows from Tears of a Clown, just like Pagliacci did, I have to keep my sadness hid. And it's an image that runs through a lot of your songs, this, keeping that smiling face with sadness.
Well, for the Carolyn Crawford song, I was trying to just explain how you're hiding, like I said,
yeah.
You're trying to pretend like something's going on inside you that really isn't, because you don't want to expose yourself to the crowd. For the Tears of a Clown song, Stevie Wonder, of course, wrote the music for that. And he had recorded that track. The track that's on that record was already done when he brought it to me.
Somebody told me it was a Christmas present for you. Is that true?
No. It was not a Christmas present. It was at a Christmas party.
Oh, a Christmas party.
Yeah,
I was going to say, because I've always wondered who Santa Claus was, and I thought maybe it was Stevie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was that time.
Yeah. I mean, it would be very difficult to think of what to get him next year, wouldn't it?
No question about it. But we were having our annual Motown Christmas party. And so he came and he had that track. And he said that he had been trying to come up with a song for it, but he couldn't, so he wanted me to see what I could come up with. And it has that little thing in it that's the circus to me. Bum, 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 ba-da-dum, dum, 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 dum. That's the circus. So I just wanted to write something that I thought was heart-wrenching about the circus. Rather than talking about lions and tigers and blah, 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 I wanted to write something that I felt like could touch people's inners. And Pagliacci was the clown who made everybody happy. All the kids, all the grown-ups, everybody, he made them happy. And then he went back to his dressing room And he was very sad because he didn't have a woman. So he had nobody to love him. So that's what that song is really basically about.
The image of keeping that face of happiness with a heartbreak inside is something you've returned to a number of times in songs. It seems to have been a powerful image for you.
Somehow or other it was. I don't know why.
I said to the audience before, I reminded them that we were in the Apollo Theater, you know, the world famous Apollo Theater. Now, I did actually play the Apollo once, but it was the Apollo in Glasgow. And it's actually, the Apollo in Glasgow has a fearsome reputation for being the burial ground of many an English comedian. You go up to Scotland and they don't want to laugh at your jokes. If you come up from England and sing songs, you're lucky if you get out alive, or you did when that was open. And I know that this theatre has a tough reputation if the crowd is,
yeah,
you know,
I was
not
about
quite
to say,
with
the
it.
Apollo right here, this Apollo has
The same reputation, yeah.
Being a burial ground if you're not ready. And I think that it's just the fact that the people in New York, and especially here in Harlem, have been so used to seeing the best of the best. I mean, so many wonderful black entertainers started right here at the Apollo. I mean, Ella Fitzgerald won the talent contest here, you know, and everybody has come through here. The first time the Miracles and I ever came in here, there was a mural on the wall. They still have pieces of it out there today. And there was a mural on the wall. It had all these wonderful people, all these wonderful entertainers. Some of them were here before I was born, and they were on this mural. And I was saying to the Miracles, man, one of these days, I want to be on this wall. And the first time we played here at the Apollo Theater, this was prior to Motown happening, and Gordy was our manager. We were so terrible until, no, this is true. We were so terrible until Mr. Schiffman, and he called Barry, and now we weren't making any money to come here and play, and we were all the way in New York trying to survive, you know, from Detroit, had never been out of Detroit. And he called Barry after the second day and told him he wanted his money back. It's a learning ground, but we learned a lesson, and we learned that we had to go home and hone our craft and learn how to come and be at the Apollo.
We brought you out to Going to a Go-Going along with Shop Around and Mickey's Monkey. You had a lot of great up-tempo songs, but I would say that most people associate you with the ballad. So was it tougher as a novice to come out and command an audience with a quiet song because you're even more vulnerable?
Well, it was for me because the first song that we had that even was a hit enough for us to come to New York was a song called Bad Girl, which is a ballad. And so we came out and we sang Bad Girl. And when you come to the Apollo Theater, you have to have big band arrangements because there was a big band that played here. Ray Charles' band was playing here the week that we played. Just so happens that his band, rather than the Reuben Phillips band that was normally here, it was the Ray Charles band playing for that week. And so you had to have big band arrangements. So now we're just coming from Detroit, and I'm sure that at that time, like I said, there was no Motown. Barry didn't know that, and we didn't know that. So we come in, and the rehearsal's at 7:30 in the morning on opening day. Downstairs in the basement, you have a rehearsal. So we go down to the rehearsal. It's our turn to rehearse. So we come out with these chord sheets. And there was a guy named Honey Coles who used to be the manager here at the Apollo Theater. Yeah, Honey Coles. Honey Coles hit the ceiling. He starts cussing, he starts going all over, raising. I mean, he was just raising. Kids come here from Detroit, don't even have arrangements. Didn't Barry Gordy know that they should have arrangements? He's having a fit. I don't know why. I guess it was God's will. But Ray Charles comes to the rehearsal that morning. He said, any of you kids know your song? I said, yes, Mr. Charles. I can play it on the piano. He said, okay. He said, come over to the piano. He sat down beside me on the piano stool. He said, play the song and sing it. So I started playing it, and I'm singing, she's not a bad girl because... I sing one verse. Ray says, okay, I'll play it. He starts playing it like he wrote it. I mean, you know, really. He started playing like he wrote it. Incredible. So I'm sitting there and I'm really marveling at his genius now, because he's never heard this song. You know, he starts playing it. I'm glad he's playing it, because he's playing it 20 times better than I can play it, you know. And as he's playing it, he's saying, okay, saxophones, I want you to write this down. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So they wrote that down. Okay, trumpets, I want you to play right here. They wrote that down. Okay, guitar player, I want you to play, and they wrote that down. So this man sat there, and we were singing
And
two songs.
dictated the arrangement.
Dictated the arrangements right there that morning for us. His band wrote it down so we could have arrangements so they could play, so we could be on this show. And he wrote 2 arrangements sitting there that day. From that moment on, I could have been in Timbuktu with 1 day off. And they said, hey, Smokey, Ray Charles needs you to do something in New York. And I would have flown in from Timbuktu to come to do that for Ray and gone back.
Like a storm, your tears have rained as your shirt was lipstick stained, and the stain that it contained was not my color. No sponge has the power to absorb the shower of tears, pancake and powder couldn't cover. But today as I look in the mirror, I see things a whole lot clearer. No more tears stained makeup for me. Oh no, no more tears stained makeup on me. I said, no tears stained makeup on me. No more tears stained makeup for me. I finally got myself together. No more tears stained makeup for me. No more tears stained makeup for me. I finally got myself together.
Smokey, I was going to ask you, how did you know, your voice is so exceptional, so singular. When did you discover it? Or was there a singer that you loved, that you started to sing like, and this voice came out?
I don't know that I ever started to sing like anybody, but you know, I hear people who are singers, and they're asked that same question, and they say, well, nobody, I'm just myself. That's a lie. I think that any singer is inspired by somebody, okay? So now, when I was a kid growing up, I already said Ray Charles, but I think my #1 singing idol, who was the man here at the Powell Theater, was Jackie Wilson.
Right.
So I had this high voice, you know, so I always loved the guys with the high voices. Jackie Wilson, Sam Cooke, Clyde McPhatter, Frankie Lyman. In fact, I think that Frankie Lyman was the first person that I ever saw. There was this theater in Detroit called the Broadway Capitol. And when live shows came to Detroit in those days, they played at the Broadway Capitol. So I'm probably about 10 or 11, and Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers, they have this song, Why Do Fools Fall in Love? And they come to the Broadway Capitol in Detroit, and I go and I see them. And Frankie Lyman must have been no more than 12 or 13 at the time himself. So that was the first time I ever saw anybody, because I always wanted to be in show business from the time I was a little boy, 3, 4, you know.
Seeing somebody who was just a little bit older.
It was the first time I saw somebody that made me think, oh man, this dream is possible. So yeah, I love those guys.
The contrast between the two people that you mentioned, Jackie Wilson and Sam Cooke, is quite pronounced, because all the films I've seen of Jackie Wilson, I mean, he did extraordinary things. He would, and hit all the notes. He would splits and real showmanship. And the accounts of Sam Cooke, on the other hand, are that he could hold a crowd completely just standing there singing a ballad.
Ooh, yeah.
So you almost kind of combine the two things of these two people that you love. Do you think that in the modern day recordings, the heavy beats just make it too hard for a singer to project?
You know, people downplay or knock today's music, and I don't agree with that at all. I think you have some wonderful young talent who is out there singing now, who are some great singers.
Would you name a couple?
Oh, you got a lot of great young singers out there, man. You got Chris Brown, who is the bomb. You know, you got John Legend. You got Maxwell. You know, you got Alicia Keys and Beyonce and Mariah Carey, and you got a lot of great young singers out there, man, who are the bomb. I love Justin Timberlake. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So you know, I listen to everybody. People ask me all the time, well, who do you listen to? I listen to everybody. You might catch me listening to Motown or Muddy Waters and everybody in between, because if you check my CD player out of my car, I got everybody in there.
Well, one of your big solo hits, Cruisin', which was a hit in, I think, '79, was revived by D'Angelo, and it was quite radically different. That was were you surprised when you heard the interpretation?
I was surprised when I heard his interpretation. I know D'Angelo, you know, and I know his family. And in fact, I did a TV show with him, whereas I sang Cruisin' with him. But I'm delighted, man. See, I'm not one of those writers where people say, well, they sampled my song. Sample all of mine, please. Because I think that when a person samples your song, that says to me that that particular song had some sort of an influence on them, personally, musically, whatever it was, and they admired your song enough. See, most people who have sampled my songs or who have even re-recorded one of my songs are songwriters themselves. And there are so many songs, man. There are millions and millions and millions of songs. So for out of all those songs, especially for the ones who are songwriters themselves, for them to pick one of my songs to sing, hey man, I love you, thank you.
And I don't know why people don't see it that way, because what you described as the way you could learn from people from playing along, that there isn't as much opportunity to do that. So records are going to be more powerful. A record is the way that they've moved the idea on, and that sample or that cover is the starting point for their new idea about music.
Sure.
Can I ask you a little bit about, I mentioned at the very top of the show, I listed a ton of songs that you wrote for Motown artists. I mean, people know your hits in your voice, but it takes a little while to check the credits sometimes on records and find that you wrote Ain't That Peculiar for Marvin Gaye and Get Ready for the Temptations. You know, and it's an extraordinary amount of songs that you wrote in that time. Did you start out at the piano writing and think, this is a good one, I like this one, I really hear Marvin on this one? Or did you kind of go, and I'm keeping that for myself? And then, or was it like, did somebody say, we need a new song for the, you know, because you were so involved with Motown?
Well, yeah. Any song that I have ever written that you heard first by another artist, I wrote that song for that artist. And in fact, we're here on the stage at the Apollo Theater, which was where I first showed the Temptations My Girl. We were doing a show here, a Motown review. And the Temptations were on the show, the Miracles, of course, and I were on the show. And I first showed them that song right here on the stage in between shows. So yeah, I always wrote the songs for those particular artists when you heard it by them the first time. I wasn't a songwriter who stockpiled a bunch of songs and then said, well, this will fit so-and-so and this will fit me.
But did you ever think when you heard one, you know, oh, that was such a, you know, even though it was a hit, did you ever think, oh, it was such a good song, I should have kept it for myself, or were you just happy to hear it?
You know what, Elvis, and I can say this honestly, I never have felt that way. I have always been very, very, very happy to have been a positive influence or had something positive to do with those other people's careers. Those people were my brothers and sisters, man. We grew up in Motown together. You know what I mean? When you hear about the Motown family, that's not a myth. That's exactly how it was.
And you knew, watching some of these musicians come into Motown after you had started, presumably you could see the possibility of Marvin Gaye, you could see his development and know what song he could take from you. I mean, a song, you could hear that? That was an inspiration to you?
Well, yeah, because Marvin was my brother. Marvin and I hung together almost every day. He was one of those singers that would come into the studio and he hadn't even heard your song. He comes into the studio, you've either made a demo vocal or something like that, or you show him, I go to piano and show him what it is, and he will proceed to sing your song doing stuff with your song that you never even imagined. This is the kind of singer he was. I mean, he was just creative right there at the mic. They would do stuff. I would always say that he Marvinized your song, because he would come in and just lay it to rest. Marvin, when he first came to Motown, he had the aspiration to be the new Nat King Cole. Nat King Cole was like his singing idol, basically, you know. And Marvin wanted to sing, you know, the ballad kind of stuff. But Marvin could sing anything, first of all. He was one of the greatest singers to ever live, as far as I'm concerned. Certainly. And he could sing anything. So he's sitting at the piano, and he's singing one of those standard tunes, you know. And Barry goes and sits down beside him. They start talking and what have you, you know. So the first record that we ever recorded on Marvin at Motown was Mr. Sandman. You know, because that's how he wanted to sing. Mr. Sandman, bring me a drink. You know, that's what he loved. And we have a guy, Mickey Stevenson. Mickey Stevenson and I, we're together every day now, you know. He was our first A&R director. And Mickey wrote wonderful songs. He wrote Dancing in the Streets and Hitchhiking, those songs. But Marvin's first hit record was a song that he and Mickey wrote together called Stubborn Kind of Fella. Stubborn Kind of Fella was a big smash hit for him, and all those other songs, we had 2 records out on him before then, 3, I'm sorry, and none of those were hits because people didn't want to hear that from him, you know. And so they recorded Stubborn Kind of Fella, and it started him on the road to being the Marvin Gaye that everybody came to know and love.
You know, when I was doing the background research for this program, I mean, I know so many of your songs that we've talked about, but I found 15 or more excellent versions of one particular song, and I think many songwriters get a signature song that people associate with you. I mean, I can think of just versions of this song by Aretha, by Dolly Parton, by Linda Ronstadt, that different people have encountered, other than, of course, your own version. And the song is, of course, Tracks of My Tears.
Oh, boy, yeah.
I mean, it's wonderful to have a hit record, but is there ever a moment where you feel that the fame of one song might overshadow some others that you felt just as strongly about, or were you just thrilled that it carried so far?
No, you know, Elvis, when I learned a lesson early on in life that when I sit down to write a song, that's my goal. I want to write a song. I want to write a song that if I had written it 50 years before then, it would have meant something to people. Or today, it's going to mean something. Or 50 years from now, it's going to mean something to people. So that's my goal. And when other people record my songs or my music, as a songwriter, that's my dream come true. Because that was what I
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that that song is going to be heard 50, 100 years from now and still be as good. Would you just sing a few lines for us? Yeah, well, I can guarantee it. Would you sing a few?
Sure.
People say I'm the life of the party 'cause I tell a joke or two. Although I might be laughing loud and hearty, well, deep inside I'm blue. So take a good look at my face. See, my smile looks out of place. If you look closer, it's easy to trace the tracks of my tears. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Every day things change and the world puts on a new face. Certain things rearranged and this whole world seems like a new place. Secretly I've been tailing you like a fox that plays on the rabbit. I had to get you, so I knew
Another song that I was mentioning of yours that was recorded by a lot of people outside of Motown is The Hunter Gets Captured by the Game, and it was recorded by, get this list, Jerry Garcia, Grace Jones, Blondie, Massive Attack, and Ella Fitzgerald. And from something you said a little earlier in the evening, I think that must have been great news when you heard that Ella Fitzgerald cut your song.
Oh, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
This is something that must have been a dream, but you, on your record Timeless, actually went to the songs that Ella and Sarah Vaughan and even James Moody, the great saxophonist, sang. It's a wonderful record because it allows us to see the songs that are within your heart that you didn't write. And on your new record, you've taken a song by the young writer Jesse Harris. It's a song that was popularized first by Norah Jones.
By Norah Jones, exactly.
And you've sort of cast it simultaneously as a Smokey Robinson song and paid it the tribute of being like a new standard. Would you agree with that? Do you hear it in that idiom?
Well, yeah, because it's a song that I love. I hear songs all the time that I love, and I love that song.
When did you first hear it?
Oh, I first heard it by Norah Jones, of course, and I loved it then. So I'm working on my new CD now. In fact, it's done, and that's one of the cuts that's on there.
Well, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Would you sing it for us?
I would love to.
I waited till I saw the sun. Don't know why didn't come. I left you by the house of fun. Don't know why didn't come. I don't know why didn't come. When I saw the break of day, I wish that I could fly away. Instead of kneeling in the sand, catching teardrops in my hand. My heart is drenched in wine. You'll be on my mind forever. Something has to make you run. Don't know why I didn't come. I feel as empty as a drum. Don't know why I didn't come. I don't know why I didn't come. I don't know why I didn't come. I don't know why I didn't come.
I think Berry Gordy is on record as saying that when you first came to Motown, you were the only artist. There were many great singers, obviously, but you were the only writer that came in already with notebooks full of lyrics. At what age did you start trying to be a lyricist? And who were the people that made you want to do that?
I grew up in a home where there was always music. I talk about this when I do my live shows. There was always music happening. I had two older sisters and my mom, and they played every kind of music you can think of all day long. So I always was inspired by music, and I tried to write my first songs when I was probably 4. When I met Berry, I met him at an audition that the Miracles and I had gone to. We weren't called the Miracles then, but we had gone to this audition for Jackie Wilson's managers. Jackie Wilson was from Detroit. So we had gone to this audition for his managers. And at that time, we had a girl in our group. And here we are, 4 guys and a girl. I'm singing Hyde, the girl's in the group. So his managers rejected us totally. They said, no, you guys will never make it because, you know, you got the girl in the group and you're singing Hyde and all, and we already got the Platters, and this is what they do, and the Platters are like this, and the Platters are world renowned, so you'll never make it, and blah, blah, so they totally rejected us. Meanwhile, there's a guy sitting over in the corner. Now, I'm 16 years old, and there's a guy sitting over in the corner, and he looks like he's about 18, 19 at the most, and he's listening. I'm thinking he's waiting to audition next. And so they reject us, and we go out, and we're dejected by their rejection. So we're just walking, you know, out, and this guy comes out behind us. And rather than us singing songs that were currently popular by other artists when we went to audition, we sang 5 songs that I had written. So the guy comes out behind us, and he says, hey, man, wait a minute. So we turn around. He says, where'd you get those songs from? I said, I wrote them, man. He said, you wrote all those songs? I said, yeah. So he said, oh, man. He said, I liked a couple of songs you sang, you know. But I said, oh, thank you very much, man. He said, yeah. He said, I'm Berry Gordy. And my bottom lip hit the floor. I could not believe that this guy was Berry Gordy.
Did you think he would be an older man then?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
So I said, you mean Berry Gordy who writes the songs for Jackie Wilson and Etta James? He said, yeah, that's me. Man, I couldn't speak. I just could not speak. Now, at the time, I had a lot of songs, man. I had a loose leaf notebook full of songs that I had been writing over the years. And so he said, I like a couple of your songs. Do you have any more songs? He never should have said that. Cause I had the notebook with me. And I got this, about 100 songs in this book, man. So he said, I said, yeah, I got some more songs. He said, let me hear them. Now, at the time, I got all these songs, and only about 3 or 4 of them made sense. Because I could always rhyme stuff. But I had like about 4 or 5 songs in one song, because the first verse had nothing to do with the second verse. And the second verse had nothing to do with the bridge. And it was about 4 or 5 different ideas. The first verse would be saying, oh, my darling, I'm so glad that you're here with me, and I got you in my arms, and I'm holding you, and I love this. And the second verse would be saying, gosh, I'll be glad when I see you again, because I haven't seen you in years. But it'd be all right now, you know. I must have sang, I'm not exaggerating, I must have sang 20 songs for Berry that day. He never once said, okay, man, I'm tired of hearing your stuff, or that's enough, or any of that. Every song I sang for him, he just sat there and he critiqued it. He said, no, man, he said, you said this here, and this blah, 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 blah. He never once, I gave up before he did, okay? And he said, I'm gonna teach you how to write songs professionally. He said, I'm gonna teach you that your songs are supposed to be a short book. They're supposed to be one idea that's completed, a short movie, a short story. He said, even if you don't end it, you give people enough ammunition and enough material to end it for themselves. He said, but it's got to be that.
But he could recognize in that notebook.
Absolutely.
And in that notebook, in that 100 songs,
yeah,
were there parts of songs that became big hits later, or did you just start again?
You know, I don't remember, because I was so overwhelmed by the fact that, and he said, I'm going to work with you, and I'm going to work with your group, and I was so happy. I went outside, I was dancing, and I can't dance really. And I went outside, and I told the group, and we were just flabbergasted, because he was going to work with us. And so he told me, he said, I want you to go and I want you to listen to the radio and see what people are writing. And I want you to practice and so on. So I did. So he taught me how to write songs professionally.
He sort of gave you the shape.
Yeah.
In 1973, which I think I'm right in saying is the same year as Stevie Wonder did Living for the City, you made a record in which your musical signatures were used to connect and to express the bleaker aspects of Native American and African American experience. And this was a very strong song. And the song I'm talking about is called Just My Soul Responding.
That war he sent me to didn't claim me. If I'm bitter, don't blame. It's just my soul responds. You tried to tell me I'm unpatriotic. I deserve.
Where did it come come from, this song? It really is almost without precedent.
It came from my life experience and from what I feel as an American. The song was inspired by the music of my guitarist, who just retired, in fact, Marv Tarplin. Marv Tarplin, yeah.
Yeah.
Marv Tarplin comes up with these incredible guitar riffs, and he puts them on tape for me. And I live with them until I can come with an idea that I think is worthy of his music. You played Going to a Go-Go at the beginning of the show, and Going to a Go-Go was inspired by the music of Marv Tarplin because he came up with that riff. And there's so many songs for me that have been that. You know, The Tracks of My Tears, Cruisin', all that, you know. Some of them happen sooner than others. Cruisin' took 5 years for me to come up with an idea that I thought suited his music, was intimate enough to be on that music. I wrote 3 or 4 songs to
Based
that
on
music.
the same piece of music.
Yeah, on the same piece of music, but they didn't fit because they were not intimate enough. But his music has always inspired me. Just My Soul Responding came from a guitar riff that he gave me. And like I said, the times, the turbulence of the times. If I wrote it today, or if it came out today, the masses of people would be more receptive to what it's saying than it was when it actually came out. Because the world is wiser on those issues now than it was then.
It was a very open statement of the way you saw things in 1973 around that time.
Yes.
But the world really needs the love song just as much as it needs the bald facts to be stated, because if you open your eyes, from what you said, you can see this for yourself.
Yes.
The love song is the thing that unites people, brings people together. Do you feel a superior strength in that?
Love is the most powerful emotion that we have. Love is the most powerful emotion that we have in life. Even people who hate, they call themselves hating for the love of something.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's where prejudice and religious
That's where it
intolerance
comes
comes from.
You know, you see whoever, a white supremacist, and they're saying, well, I love my race, that's why I hate you. You know, a black person who hates, well, I love my people, that's why I hate you. Can I say bullshit on this show?
You can say anything you want, Smokey.
Because that's what that is. You know what I mean? The most ridiculous, absurd, stupid emotion that we have as men is prejudice. What makes you think that you're better than this other person? What makes you think because you do a certain thing, or because you're in a certain place or a certain status economically, that you're better than another person? Cancer don't know that. The flu don't know. It don't matter what color you are. It don't matter what your religious beliefs are. It don't matter what your creed is. It don't matter about none of that. Because we're all one race. We're the human race. If you skin everybody alive and we're still walking around, nobody's gonna know who is, okay? Because we are all human beings and we're all on this planet.
That's right.
Together.
That's right.
You know what I mean? If it's love, it's love. So love is the most powerful emotion that we have. Let's use it on each other.
Yeah. In the early 80s, I went to visit Hitsville.
All right, man.
And I went to the Motown studio in Detroit. And in my mind, growing up in England, we heard these records kind of all at once. They were suddenly on the radio, and this sound was extraordinary, and I couldn't imagine where it had come from. Then in '65, there was a weekly music program, which was the must-see program every week on a Friday night called Ready, Steady, Go. And one week, they had a special all dedicated to Motown, and Marvin Gaye's Supremes and Smoking and Miracles were on it. And it was the first time that many of us had seen these groups. The first time Marvelettes were on it, I believe, Stevie Wonder. And in a what I imagine was a 40-minute program, we got to see all of these acts, and it hit us with such incredible force. But still, I couldn't imagine the room that all this music came out of until I went there myself, and it was so tiny. It was incredible. It was an intimate space as well, just like this theater is.
Well, you know what, man? I'm gonna let you in on a secret. I'm gonna kind of bust your bubble a little bit there. Because what you're saying, most of the songs were recorded there. When we first started to become popular, people were coming from all over the world, bringing their acts to Detroit because they thought that the Motown sound was somewhere in the air. It was just there. If you go to Detroit and you record your acts, then you're going to get the Motown sound. People ask me all the time, well, what is the Motown sound, or what was the Motown sound? The Motown sound, as far as I'm concerned, is and was the people. All the producers and the writers and the artists and people like that are and were and will always be the Motown sound. Because I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Some of those records that you were talking about were recorded in England. Some of them were recorded in New York. Some of them were recorded in Chicago, Nashville, Los Angeles, you know, because we would catch our acts on the road and record them wherever they happened to be at that time. And we always got the Motown sound.
Who were the people who were indispensable to you? A couple of the names, not the singers, but the players. Who were the people that really you felt that if we have that guy in that position, that's going to kill it?
Well, you know, first of all, I have to say about James Jamerson, who was our bass player.
Yeah.
And yeah. James Jamerson, as far as I'm concerned, it's like the Apollo Theater. When I told you the Apollo Theater is the granddaddy of all those theaters that were around the country, James Jamerson, as far as I'm concerned, is the granddaddy of the modern day pop, rhythm and blues, rock bass player. You know what I mean? Because he was the bass man. And we had, you know, drummer Benny Benjamin and Earl Van Dyke on piano, and we had so many wonderful musicians.
England's had a particularly special relationship, obviously, with Motown generally. You mentioned also choreography, which was another striking aspect of the first time that English fans saw the Motown acts. What were these people doing? I mean, our groups used to stand there stiffly and move around like robots, and suddenly there's people spinning and doing all this fantastic choreography, and the outfits were extraordinary. In 1980, I actually took my band, The Attractions, to a choreographer so that we could learn what we thought were some Motown-style steps for a music video. Now, in my mind, we were going to look exactly like the Temptations, ignoring the fact that we were ill-assorted shapes and sizes, and I personally have the dancing skill of a cement mixer. But being too embarrassed to get out of my chair, I decided to have a little glass of wine to loosen my inhibitions, and after 4 or 5 glasses, I arrived at the theory that Smokey used to stand pretty still and look cool, and the Miracles went through their paces. And here is the grisly evidence. Have you any tips for me?
For you, man. Have the Temptations seen that?
I would be ashamed. Thank you. The first record I ever owned was With the Beatles. And track 10 on With the Beatles was a song that wasn't written by Lennon and McCartney or George Harrison. I love the song, still love the song, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but it was written by tonight's very special guest. Please welcome back to the stage, Smokey Robinson.
I wanna leave now, don't wanna stay, don't wanna spend another day. No, I wanna slip now, I just can't quit now. You really gotta hold on me. You really gotta hold on me. You really gotta hold. You really gotta hold on me. Oh, I love you, and all I want you to do is just hold me, please me, hold me, squeeze me, hold me, hold me. You really gotta hold on. You really gotta hold on. You really gotta hold. You really gotta hold on. 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 Smokey Robinson.
Elvis Costello.